today's story. Yeah? We all know the story that the Frierdiker Rebbe on Gimel Tammuz. Gimel Tammuz was the day where he actually left the prison and was sent to Kostroma, where ostensibly to be there for 3 years, and then a week after his arrival, on Yud Beis Tammuz and Yud Gimel Tammuz, he was informed by Moscow that he had been completely exonerated. Standing there on Gimel Tammuz at the train station, accompanied by the Chassidim were there, and of course the NKVD, or the KGB, NKVD. He held a fiery speech. And the speech that he held, he repeated the words of his father, the Rebbe Rashab. And here's the context of that. The Rebbe relates the story. Here's the story. When the Rebbe went to Kostroma, standing there at the train station, he said a few words in the name of his father that the Rebbe Rashab had said at a gathering. The government had called a gathering of the Rabboni, of the leading rabbis of Russia, that they'd been summoned by the Russian government. And at that time, the Russian government wanted to decree that rabbis have to get a degree, and they have to know to some degree secular knowledge in order to be able to function as rabbis, to be allowed to function as rabbis. And they called this meeting, and at this meeting were the great Jewish leaders of Russian Jewry, the Rebbe Rashab, Rabbi Chaim Brisker of the famous Brisk dynasty, and Rav Atlas, the founder of the Telz Yeshiva in Lithuania, and others. So the Rebbe and these Rabbanim, they fought this. It's forbidden to agree to such a decree. Now, at this meeting, of course, there was representatives of the government, and one of them was a tremendous anti-Semite. His name was Stalipin. And he threatened the rabbis, and he said that if you don't give, they needed to have, the rabbis to give the signature, and then everybody would follow it. So if you don't, he threatened that he will instigate 101 pogroms throughout the length and breadth of Russia. And he could be trusted to do so because a few years earlier he had done so. This changed everything at the meeting. And they started to think we have no choice. We have to sign. When the Rebbe Rashab saw where things were heading, were leading, he asked permission to speak at the end of the meeting. He was going to speak anyway, of course, but he asked to be the final word. And then he said the words that the Frierdiker Rebbe quoted on the train station, going on the Gimel Tammuz, going to exile. He said, all the nations of the world should know that to exile only the physical bodies, our bodies have been given over, as it were, to exile, but the Yiddish neshama was never exiled, and no power has power over it. And he added, our koyach is the koyach of Torah. Yidden, he called out, sanctify Hashem's name in public. And with these words, he fainted, he collapsed. Rabbi Chaim Brisker and Rav Atlas, when they saw this, they immediately said, they are with the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and they were not signing. Meanwhile, they were able to arouse him and they took him back to the hotel where he was staying. When he arrived there, the government sent word that he's being arrested, that he spoke defiantly against the government, called for resistance. And so they came to arrest him. The police officers came to arrest him. So what they were able to do was they were able to get a note from a doctor that he's not well. And through connections, they were able to allow this to be a house arrest and thereby to fulfill this. And eventually he was freed altogether, went back to Lubavitch, and the decree was never signed. The Rebbe concludes the story that these words were said by the Rebbe, the Frierdiker Rebbe. And he said, may God our Lord be with us as he was with our fathers. And through the Rebbe says, the fact that the Frierdiker Rebbe related this and published it and printed it, so this is an empowerment for all times and all places, that everyone should know that the neshama is free, unfettered, unbound, and connected to the very essence of Hashem, and no power on earth and in heaven, quoting here, can dictate a neshama and neshama's relationship with the Eibush himself. And therefore, under all circumstances, and certainly now, places and times, the Jew is able to keep Torah mitzvahs and break and transcend whatever limitation the body is placed in. All right, friends. Have a wonderful day.
Rabbi, thank you.
There is Chodesh, a good Chodesh. Bez Hashem, we continue tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chodesh
Chodesh Tov.
Tov to all.